And welcome, Rooster Boosters, to Rooster Booster Time. This is episode 15, and we actually have a special guest on this episode. We have RUNY Coach Greg McWilliams. Thank you so much for being on, Coach.
And thanks for having me on. Yeah, delighted. Thank you.
Appreciate that you could take the time and really talk to us about what's going on with RUNY. It's kind of been a rugby blackout for everybody across the land, so I'm sure people will be glad to hear what you have to say. And now that lockdown's coming to a close, everybody's kind of almost going back to normal life. Hopefully in New York we'll be there soon. I've seen players go on social media and start to pick their training up with other players. But before everything started to kind of come back together, what was RUNY doing? What were the guys doing during lockdown to kind of stay in shape and be with the team?
Yeah, look, it was obviously a very difficult period for the players, like everybody else. So we made sure that we just kept having regular connections with them. They would have been active with an S&C coach, Ian Jones, who would have given them some remote work to do, and the coaching staff who would have ran some webinars and Zoom calls during the week. So we're very lucky to have a couple of special guests who came on to speak to the players, mainly about areas outside of rugby. So we had a psychologist, Damien Lowry, who came on early during the lockdown. He was great. And I know a few players have since reached out and connected with him. And then we had Steve Arango, a local player from New York, who did a brilliant piece just on personal finance. Some of these players, as you know, they don't earn a huge amount of money and they have other jobs, and it's very important that they're aware of, the importance of their taxes and how they can make the most of the money they earn. And then I leaned on my Yale connections, and Philip Lynch, who was the chairman of the Yale Rugby Board, spoke to the players about building blocks needed for the next stage of their life, primarily around networking and understanding what they stand for and what line of business they're trying to get into. And then we had Rob Morse, who spoke to the players on coding. We would have had 8 on that call, and Nate Brakely, of course, you can imagine, he took over that call.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
He's running now with our weekly coding, our coding program, which is great. So there's about 8 players who are really interested in coding. And at the moment, they're providing some learnings from the MLR through the stats that we got, which has been good fun. And then Marty Veal ran a game simulation program for the players, which is really good, very valuable. We did a little bit of session planning with the players, and then we did a guitar lesson once a week. So just a way of connecting with the players. It wasn't compulsory. Players were able to come in and go out when they please, and generally had pretty good numbers. And I think it was just a good chance to nearly get away from rugby a little bit and just try and explore different avenues that we can help them with as a rugby club. And it was a tough time, and now we're through it. Hopefully they can get out and about and be around family more, which is important.
Absolutely. It's great to see that the teams are coming in and trying to help with not only just overall mental health during this time, but like you said, personal finance. You could be a kid straight out of college. Maybe you've never really lived outside of your parents' house before. So I'm sure it's a big challenge, especially if you're living in the 5 boroughs or Westchester County, to really come together with that and keep your finances on track. That's great. Yeah. I loved it. I'm an accounting guy, so I love to hear that people are getting right on the right financial track. Yeah. So speaking of the team, how's team retention going? How's recruiting going? We haven't seen much signings around the league really. But how's RUNY doing with that?
Yeah, so when league play came to a close, we had roughly 9 months until our next league game. So it provided Rick Saliso, who's our CEO and new CEO, the opportunity to have a look at what we're doing as an organization. And the most important thing that we have are our players. So it's really important that we're active at retaining players. I believe we've got some fantastic players with RUNY, some fantastic American players that we really want to stay in the club, and we want them to be our heartbeat, as well as bringing in foreigners who can improve our process around professionalism. Foreigners have played in some of the top leagues around the world, and if they come in and they're the right fit for what we're looking for, they can add huge value. So it's important that we retain the players, and there's a lot of really good players we're happy about. And then also you're very active, like every club, at trying to look at recruiting the right players to fit the model that we want. We want to play exciting rugby for the fans of New York. We want to win. I think any professional team in New York, first and foremost, you have to win. So, we have a short-term plan, which is getting us out there and providing us with the best opportunity to win. And then we have a long-term plan where we're very active at the moment through Stephen Lewis at engaging with the community, engaging with the clubs, because RUNY sits on top of clubland, and it's really important that we're very active around the clubs. So between Andrew Britt at White Plains and Mike Petrie at Nyack, and Dom and Murph at Old Blue, our job is to go to them and say, look, we need your help. We want to be in and around the club, and we want to be active, and they've been really receptive to that. So we're excited about what we're building long term as well as short term. So it's like, trust me, the boosters will be first to hear when word comes out, and I think it's important that we do. We got to wait until after June 29th, but certainly we'll be letting you and the rest of the boosters know our signings as soon as they come in. That's
great. I think a lot of fans don't realize that between Colorado leaving, so now those players were selected either by LA and Dallas got first dibs on those players, and then the draft that's upcoming, and we'll talk about that soon. There's kind of like this lull in contracts, and I think you're right. Once July hits, everything kind of opens up because you'll know exactly where everybody is. So speaking of that pipeline you're building, I know you just talked about the clubs, but what about the collegiate draft? There was big news today that you guys traded both of your draft picks to Dallas. So what was the reasoning behind that?
Well, we had an opportunity today to trade both our collegiate draft picks for a foreign spot. Last year, we were one of the teams that used the least amount of foreigners inside our 23. And we were picks number 9 and number 21. So the players that we felt would make an immediate impact in year one out of college would have been certainly, taken by the first couple of teams. And there are a couple of really good collegiate players that we talk to regularly who are outside maybe of the top 24 players that will be picked, who will come into our squad. If you look at last year, we had Will Burke, Troy Lockyer, Robin Murskew, Alec MacDonald, even Julio from Old Blue, who's playing Division 2, came up and played. Nick Jimenez, they all came out of college and they all had a chance to play MLR. I think what's important is that these players coming out of college, more than likely they'll need a year or two of developing, which we're excited about. But short term, we had the opportunity through MLR rules to have the extra player, and we felt that it suited where we are as a rugby club. And we're also excited again about building by taking in collegiate players like we did last year. But we gave up the draft spots because we felt that was the right thing for us to do. And, it's part of the big plan, and we're really, really excited about where we're going. And part of that will be engaging with the community and hopefully giving ourselves the best opportunity to win. It's very important.
Absolutely. And again, rugby fans in general outside of America may not understand the draft because it doesn't really happen outside of America. But sometimes you have a pick and that, or you have a couple guys you're looking at and they're going to go ahead of you. So if somebody else is interested in pick, if another team wants to give you something that's worthwhile, why not trade that pick? It makes sense. It makes sense for the team. So I totally get that. So now the draft's going to be tomorrow. We're going into the new signings in July. What's your expectations for the fall?
Well, our expectations is to have as many of our playing squad playing club rugby in New York, which provides the staff the opportunity to go out and watch them train and watch them play and engage with the coaches. It's a really big part of what we have at New York is we've got this really active rugby community, lots of teams. I don't know exactly how many teams there are in New York, but even to have 3 Division 1 teams through White Plains, Old Blue, and Nyack is huge for us as a team. So not only will our SPC players, our full-time players, have the opportunity to play in the fall for their club and represent the club at New York, but there are so many players who will be playing fall rugby that we'll get the opportunity this year, where we didn't last year, to get out and about and hopefully find some more diamonds, more Will Burks or more Jonases, players who are playing club level who excelled. So we're excited about that in the fall. And then we go into pre-season, the first week in December, last week in November. And, you're just hoping that we have a really good S&C program in place, that the players will get into the right physical condition. And then it's up to us as a coaching staff to give them the right conditioning outside of that to be able to compete and hopefully do well the first couple of weeks of the MLR and ride that momentum through the season.
It's funny because what I saw this season, as opposed to the first season that Rudy was on the schedule to play games, a lot of guys came in, I felt, this season in a lot better shape, starting at that first practice. I mean, you already have guys on the team like Matt Workin, like Mike Brown, who at this point it was their going into their third year. But you could see a big difference, especially in the props from year 1 to year 2. That, man, they were down those 5 pounds early, and they were a little quick early on versus year 1. So I think going into year 3 now, you're going to see that having those professionals, because they are professionals, having that routine is just going to push the new guys, whether it's signings or whether it's through trades, to be at that level. The level of professionalism was really high this season. I was glad to see it. Guys were focused. It was great to see. So what's your expectation going into the new season? What are you looking forward to?
Year 1, and you alluded to it, Mike Tolkien and Keith Leeson did a great job. We came in for year 2, and every year you're just trying to get better as an organization. I know, again, that we have goals outside the field and goals on the field. I think outside the field, Steve Lewis has been very active with Rick, putting together, a tremendous plan with Empire and with the clubs that I'm excited about. And then on the field, myself and Marty and the rest of the staff are working at, trying to get a group of players together, domestic and foreign players together, who are going to give ourselves in New York the best opportunity to go out there each week and represent the state and be successful. And that comes through a lot of hard work. So like every club that's in the MLR, we'll do our best to get the best squad we can. We'll get them as fit as we can. We'll hopefully get them enjoying their rugby, and we'll get out there next year now and hopefully give the supporters something to be really excited about, playing a brand of rugby that I think will be exciting, and one that matches the DNA of New York. Abrasive, exciting. We're really looking forward to it, and it's one hell of a rugby club, and we're all very grateful and lucky to have the opportunity to get out there next year and give it a good go.
I'm telling you, Coach, I'm excited for the end of this year to see the new signings. I'm excited to see the team you guys create, and I'm definitely excited to hopefully get a home match next year, since we were unfortunately those were taken away.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be on. You're going to be on tomorrow, right? New York is still very active in this draft. You got to remember, we'll be on there tomorrow. We're supporting this 100%, and there are a lot of players. You got to remember, and I know the supporters might know this or might not, who are going to listen to this. But there were close on 500 players that were on the draft, and 24 had been picked. So we've seen some real diamonds who got great growth potential who mightn't be picked up, who are local. So we're just hoping that we'll still enjoy tomorrow and be there to support the MLR in the draft, because we do support that. And, I think when the draft then finishes, it moves on to the next stage. This is the end of June. So, yeah, we're excited to be involved tomorrow, even though we're not getting our picks, and then we'll take from there.
And hey, you never know, if LA comes at you with a good offer, maybe you jump in and take one of their picks. You never know; it could happen.
You never know. But at the moment, I want the supporters to know that everything that we're doing is to make RUNY better. So I want them to know that we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we're going to be representing New York to the best of our ability next year on and off the field, and we're really excited about that.
That's awesome, Coach. I appreciate the time you're giving me. I'm appreciating the way you interact with the fans. You're always on social media. And thank you so much for coming on.
Okay, thank you for having me. Appreciate it, Scott.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. And Rooster Boosters, I'll catch you next time.
Go Rooster Boosters.